Hello, good morning. Welcome everyone. Thanks for liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. I do appreciate it. For those new to the channel, my name is Tim. I do villages related content. And I was thinking about the 10 biggest surprises that I had since I moved to the villages. I wanted to share with you some of the things that I found interesting or surprising or unexpected. And I will take you on a walk and talk about those 10 items that surprised me after I moved to the villages. Let's take a walk and talk about them. Here I am walking down Mactan Newtown Boulevard here in Cebu City in the Philippines. And it looks like people are getting ready to go on their day trips. They are gathering their things together. It looks like they have food vendors right here on the side. So let's talk about the 10 things that surprised me the most after moving to the villages. And I got this idea by thinking about living in the villages. After I've been there for 3 years, I did experience some surprises and unexpected things. And one of the things that I found very interesting or surprising was the amount of neighborhood gossip. I call it the Karens. I was surprised at how many neighbors take an interest in what you're doing. Maybe it's due to the fact that you live so close and in so close a proximity to each other, but it just seems like there's a lot of neighbors that want to know what your business is, and they want to critique what you're doing and how you're doing it. I found that to be very surprising in the villages. Let me know in the comments below why you think that is. Maybe it's because people are retired and they have nothing better to do. But just be aware there is a lot of neighbors, they're close to each other, and they have nothing better to do, and they do talk about other neighbors. So that was a surprising thing for me. And one of the examples I can use in that case is when you walk down the street with a camera, like I am doing now, you get funny and strange looks, and people ask what you're doing. The second item on the list of most surprises here in the villages is the length of time that it takes the villages to fix things. And that can be used as both a positive and a negative. And I'm going to use it as a positive and a negative because some of the things they react to very quickly. It's like the villages has a very quick reaction time when there is a problem. They identify the problem, they acknowledge the problem, but then it takes a while for them to execute the correction and to fix it. In certain instances it takes a while. In some cases they fix things right away. So just be aware of that. If something is broken, if you do report it, it may get fixed right away or it may take a lot longer, and I think that's due to them ordering materials and parts. At least that's what I was told. For certain activities, there was a stormwater pipe that was broken on the golf cart path in and around my neighborhood, and it took them almost a year to fix that stormwater pipe. It was leaking water, very small leak, for a long time. They identified the pipe that was broken. They put caution tape around it, and they put signs up around it, but then it took about a year for them to fix it. So it was surprising to me how long it took. And then there's other instances where it surprises me how fast they fix things. So that's number 2 on the list. Number 3, the third biggest surprise to me after living in the villages for 3 years, is how clean the villages are and how much time, effort, and energy the villages puts in to cleaning the community. And these cleaning costs are typically supported by your maintenance assessment fees. And if you watch some of my videos in the past, you could see the village's maintenance team blowing the streets with a large blower. They blow the leaves off the streets. They even come around and they spray for mosquitoes at night. And in general, after hurricanes and tropical storms, the villages is very prompt to clean the community. That is number 3 on my list, is the cleanliness of the villages and the amount of time, effort, and energy the villages takes to keep the community clean. The 4th item on the list of most surprises is what I'm going to call a lack of information, or the suppression of information, or the non-release of information. And this goes around things that occur in and around the villages that nobody seems to really know about. It does not get reported in the newspapers, especially the Villages newspaper. Sometimes these items are reported in the villages-news.com, and that's why I use that as a source. But it seems like there's a control of information. And if you really want to know what's going on in and around the villages, ask your friendly community watch team. Those are the people that come around and they check pool IDs, and they periodically go to the swimming pools, and they check the facilities to see if everything is in order. Get to know those people. They get to see and hear a lot of the things that are going on in the villages that nobody ever hears about. And some of the things that they will tell you will be very surprising in what goes on in the villages, especially at night. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Number 5 on the list of things that I'm most surprised about is how quiet the villages gets at 6 p.m. every day. The villages is very quiet, and it gets quiet very early. You can drive the streets at 6 p.m. on most any night, maybe except for a Friday night, and you will see the streets are pretty empty, pretty bare. Very few people outside. At least in the area of the villages where I live. I think after living in the villages for the first month, that was the biggest surprise that I noticed, is where are all the people at 6 p.m. at night? Every night. It gets very quiet. If you're one of those people who like to be a night owl and like a lot of night activity, the Villages is not for you. And I did remember somebody made a comment in one of my videos about that, and that is very true. There is very little activities going on after 6 p.m. at night, at least outside. There are a lot of activities at your recreation centers. They do play cards, and they play board games, things like that. But the Villages as a community gets very quiet at around 6 p.m. Number 6, the 6th item on the most surprising list, is the complexity of the governing boards, the complexity of who governs the amenities, who governs the residential districts, and the complexity of the funding that supports these amenities and these activities that the maintenance assessment fees cover. The Villages is set up very complex. Lots of different governing boards, lots of different governmental funds. Money is being moved between these funds. No one seems to know what these funds are for. It seems pretty loose that they can move money between one fund and another fund fairly easily. So that is a big surprise from a financial side of things. Living in the Villages is just the complexity of the government and the government funds. And there are a lot of government funds holding a lot of money in the Villages. The Community Development District budget annually is over $700 million. That is a huge budget to put together each and every year and to keep track of. And it is very complex. And that's why I encourage all my followers, all my subscribers, to get to know their government, get to know the amenities, the boards that control the funding sources, because there's a lot of money spent annually in all of the district budgets. Number 7 on the list of most surprises after living in the Villages for 3 years, the amount of dog walkers, the amount of dogs that I see in the Villages. There are a lot of people walking dogs in the Villages. And the biggest surprise there is they don't have a problem letting their dog relieve themselves on your lawn. There's been countless times where I found surprises on my lawn left behind by a dog. It got to a point where I even put up a small sign. And yes, I know that sign is actually against deed compliance, but I had to put a sign up, please keep your dog off my lawn. I really don't want to pick up after your dog. These people at night, I noticed during the middle of the night, they walk their dogs through the neighborhood and they let their dogs do their thing on everybody else's yard except their own yards. If you're going to walk your dog, let your dog relieve itself on your own yard, not mine. Be nice to your neighbors. That's number 7. The 8th surprising thing I have living in the Villages is inconsistent rules between districts, the residential districts, especially around deed compliance. There are differences in deed compliance rules between districts. That surprised me. Some districts, like District 5, they have anonymous reporting of deed compliance issues. Other districts, like District 10, they do not have anonymous reporting of deed compliance issues. There's also differences within the deed compliance themselves. Some districts will allow a white cross on the lawn, some districts will not. And I thought that the Villages was built on uniformity and consistency, but you will discover after you live in the Villages for a while that there is a lot of inconsistency and not everything is uniform. The number 9 item on my most surprising list is the lack of knowledge of the residents of the Villages. Most people that live in the Villages have no idea about the district government they live in. They have no idea who the district government board of directors are. They have no idea what they can do for recourse if something happens to their home or their property. They have no idea what the bonds are. They have no idea what the maintenance assessment fees are. And that's part of the reason I started my YouTube channel. And I know some of you have made a comment, who is Tim? What's his background? And somebody commented, oh, I think he's a teacher. I am not a teacher. I'm just trying to teach the residents of the Villages what is going on in the Villages, because I discovered that not a lot of people know what's going on. A lot of these people buy their homes from afar. They buy them online. They move to the Villages with absolutely no clue. I've already had people come up to me and ask me, what is a bond? I've had people come up to me and say, hey, my home does not have a bond on it. Can you check for me if it has a bond? And I look it up online and their home has a bond. They've been making payments on the bond that's found on their property tax bill for the last 5 years, and they didn't even know it. Really, people? You have to know what you're buying into. You have to understand the cost of living in the Villages. There are differences between bonds and maintenance assessment fees and amenity fees. They are all different, unique, and separate fees. That still astounds me. How many people really have no clue? That was number 9. Number 10, and the final number on the list, are the costs to live in the Villages. And this can be found as a positive or a negative. Overall, I think the monthly costs in terms of amenity fees, maintenance fees, are very reasonable to live in the Villages compared to what you get. I know there are other 55 plus communities in Florida that charge a lot more for their HOA fees. So one of the surprising things is how low those costs are, the amenity fees and maintenance fees, to live in the Villages for the amount of amenities that you get. On the flip side, I am surprised at how high some of the costs are in terms of homeowners insurance. That is going through the roof. I started 3 years ago. My homeowners insurance was a little over $900. Last year I paid $1,600 for homeowners insurance. This year in May it renews. I'm sure it's going to go up again. So I am surprised at the amount of the cost for homeowners and automobile insurance that's also gone up. The other surprise is the amount charged by contractors. The other day my garage door opener blew up. I had to put a new garage door opener in. I could not believe how much it costs. I think it cost me $600 to put a brand new garage door opener in. And 6 months before that, my garage door broke and I had to put a new spring in it. That cost me $900. So to hire a contractor To do anything for your home in the villages is very costly. I grew up in Wisconsin. Things were a lot more reasonably priced there. So that is number 10 on the list of biggest surprises after living in the villages, is the cost of contractors and the cost to repair your home. I know in Wisconsin I put a brand new water softener in my home and it cost me $900, I think, if I remember right. In the villages, it's going to cost you close to $2,000 or north of $2,000 to put a brand new water softener in your home. Just to give you an idea. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Feel free to share this video with anybody you feel might be interested in it. There you have it. Those are my top 10 surprises after living in the villages for 3 years. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. I do appreciate it. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.